Forces. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Lynch. I want to thank everyone for watching these mini-series on exterior forces that control and run our lives, sometimes without us even knowing it. In today's episode, we'll talk a little bit more about equipment and the things that scientists actually use when they go into the field to look for consciousness that's outside of our body. In many aspects, there are something that we would call ghost as a generic term. A ghost is an unwanted spirit or something that's lurking around. A ghost is normally identifiable, but what it can do, not what it can't do. So when there's consciousness around that just doesn't move any objects or doesn't look like it's going to interfere with your daily life, you just go on about your business, ignoring its true existence. But if you're in an area that is supposed to be haunted by an entity that just doesn't want to move on, or that has no desire to move on, then you might want to pull out some scientific equipment to actually investigate the paranormal or the ghost that's in the house. Sometimes a ghost is hard to detect because it doesn't really do anything until it's been activated. And it won't do anything until something activates it. It becomes upset or disoriented. Using equipment today in the 21st century, we're able to see ghosts very clearly. Be able to find out who they are and where they are just takes a matter of a few minutes. Most people rely upon EVPs to prove the existence of an afterlife. An EVP, or electromagnetic pulse phenomenon, is normally recorded through a digital recorder, sometimes through a very old tape recorder. In any case, the recorder is just a byproduct. It itself doesn't really do too much. It just records signals, wavelengths. And in an EVP, we know that through analysis, that it's not a human voice that we're actually listening to. We're actually listening to a signal that sounds very similar to a human voice. The digital recorder, which is shown here, is one of the best that is being used now in the paranormal world. There's only one grade higher that's actually works just about the same. The variations can come with any type of professional equipment, but in this case, this one just happens to be light enough and the quality is superb to be used with this type of equipment. So what we have is basically a digital recorder that has 5 different types of microphones and 4 different types of settings, whether it be stereo or mono, or 4 different avenues, 4 different channels, 4 different avenues of recording whatever sound you want. The whole idea is to have the wide enough spectrum of the hertz and frequencies that one can actually record. Now that's the main thing. If you use a compression mic or a mic that's too small or doesn't have the range, you may not get any data whatsoever. The whole idea is that data is only collected by something that can receive the ambient voice message. This is connected to what we call a ghost gun, or something along those lines. A ghost gun is basically a high definition camera, an HD camera, that is solely in the infrared, or IR. This has the lowest lux possible ever made, basically by the military, in order to see in absolute darkness. The lowest lux is the key to seeing consciousness and the outer effects as they should be. The IR, which is around it, the infrared lighting which is around it, is so powerful and powerful enough it can see over 150 feet away. So I've caught ghosts, consciousness, outside of the human body over 150 feet away using this system. Again, this is a high definition scenario so that we can look and analyze the best quality we can possibly see. Now, everyone says that the quality that is seen on television through shows is not the best quality that they've ever seen. That's because on many television shows they're not investing in apparatuses to actually videotape ghosts. They are not analysis. They are not analyzers of consciousness outside the human body, because they are not parapsychologists. They are just enthusiasts out to get a thrill on seeing how things may or may not occur. So it's kind of like taking a shotgun and shooting blindly in the woods and hoping that you capture an animal that you can drag home. Their methodology and science is too antiquated and too bizarre to even have any effect on really analyzing what they're really after. The shotgun approach has worked for years, but now it's become lame and old-fashioned. If you're shotgunning approaching it still with tri-field meters or K2 meters, then you're still just firing in the woods. You may hit something, you may not hit something, or you may hit something that you cannot even trust. So your data is just thrown out. With this, the basic setup here, we have not only the IR requirement to see consciousness set at the right frequency, we have the high definition in IR camera that sees it in black and white. Now, a lot of people are talking about full spectrum cameras. Yes, they do work as well. I've tried them out. They see color in daylight. They see ghosts at night. Problem with that is that they're grainy because the way the chip is designed. What you're wanting is the clearest, the best black and white image you possibly can to make sure that your focusing and depth of field become the quality of the range of motion that you're trying to videotape. If something's in the room with you, you can easily measure the room and know the volume of which this thing is flying around. But if your film is grainy or out of focus, then you may not be able to determine that at all. Maybe you can determine how far away it is from you, but not really its size or demeanor or shape. Its demeanor is probably the last thing you're going to find out about. Also with this, you have a digital recorder. And this digital recorder is a DVR system that is plugged into the back. So you have the highest quality recording capability. Now, I'm from the old school. I still like things on videotape because you can get 550 lines and higher on a videotape. But a digital recorder is also good. They've now come out in HD. So you can have a DVR that records in 720 all the way up to 1080i. So there's advances in everyday technology. In the 21st century, everything is now compatible with a laptop or Macintosh or whatever you want to use, and these become external hard drives. These external hard drives are then dragged and dropped. The video clip is then dragged and dropped directly into the computer. You can then analyze it through whatever video program that you have. I do recommend a video program that can go into slow motion, freeze frame, or take photographs from the video stream itself. There's several out there. I've worked with many. I prefer the one that I have now, and that works for me incredibly well. It's versatile on a laptop as well as a desktop, and I can exchange information without any corruption of the files. Today, basically, because of YouTube and Ustream, everything is around the MP4 or Windows Media, so it has the lowest possible resolution at the highest quality picture ratio. So if you start out in HD, you can always work your way down. But if you start out very low, it's hard to work your way back up. But some people have tried and they've gotten some very good results. Again, your basic idea is your contrast, your resolution, your brightness, and that is about it. Everything else you can glean from the computer as you process your videotape. Now, what you're really after is determining two things: the expediency on which you can actually find the ghost and how many ghosts are actually there. Many people come in and say, oh, there's just one ghost here. You may find out through your investigation that there are several ghosts, and it's not just one problem. You may have 4 or 5. The other item, which is highly used today, is the laser thermometer, which I do highly recommend. A laser thermometer does several things. It shoots in a straight line, and it's accurate within, again, 50 to 60 feet. Any solid object or any entity that comes your way, you can determine its temperature and whether it has any definition on meaning whatsoever. Let me show you. I can shoot my laser into the camera, and then I can give you the reading is 72 degrees. So that camera is 72 degrees. And then you can adapt flashlights to it. Here's flashlights. These are small LED flashlights, which I can put 2 of them on. They are not the same frequency as my IR. So my infrared frequency is totally different than my flashlight. So there is going to be no crossover effect. There's not going to be a brightness change or a contrast change by using LED flashlights. I've designed this for 2. I always keep a spare in my pocket. LED flashlights have now become so small and so dependable, people are using them for all types of things. I've actually seen a few people try to talk to ghosts with them by unscrewing them and letting them do whatever they do. I don't find that very reliable, and I think it consumes a large amount of your time. I refer back to my dowsing episodes. If people could learn how to dowse or have a professional psychic with them on the spot, they can find out a lot more than actually using a K2 meter or a tri-field meter. So what I'm holding in my hand is 6 of your basic toolkit items. Your digital recorder, your IR camera with the IR lens, the DVR capability that you can pop open and start recording, which will become an instant hard drive to your computer, and your laser thermometer, which is built into the handle and the grip. The laser thermometer should have another laser attached to it, because why? It can move faster, straighter, and give you more accurate information at a distance. 9 times out of 10, the entities are moving so fast, they've already outgunned you, outmatched you. They can go through walls, ceilings, and anything else. This size, even though it looks a little heavy, can fit into a holster, which I have made, or it can fit onto something else that you can easily pull out and start examining right away. An examination of a basic haunted house should take no more than a few minutes, let alone a few hours. If you're there for more than a few hours, there's really no need. The technology that's available today, that can be comprised today, I would say in 20 minutes after a cup of coffee and a piece of cake, and actually consulting with your client, is all that's really required to find the ghost that you're looking for, or the number of entities that are in the house. So don't be fooled. Television shows are designed to sell television commercials, and people sponsor these shows because they want to sell a product. The shows may last 45 minutes, with commercials, another extra 15, but all in all, they're not professionals in the field. What they are is to waste time till the next commercial. Many things that are on television today are totally erroneous and bogus. They have no idea what they're doing. They're not qualified in the field, and they're just there for a thrill attraction, of basic voyeurism of the viewer, hoping to gain something. I can tell you that Ghost Hunters and Jason and Grant have kept everyone at ground zero for the past 7 years, and how they ever get renewed is impossible for me to understand. Paranormal State and others are exactly the same way. These people do not have the background, the training, to actually look at this field seriously. Why would you send in a dentist to do a nuclear physicist job? It's just totally ridiculous. So what we have is some of the best plumbers in the paranormal field on every night on Ghost Hunters, and they're out there plumbing away at the latest ghost phenomenon. And we have other people that are totally disqualified, and they're out there screaming at entities, hoping that they're scratched so they have something to show on television. A professional paranormal investigator does not require on such insane ideas. They're quiet, they're calm, and they're well prepared. Anyone who goes into an investigation not prepared should not go at all. And also the criteria, if you cannot help or assist your client, you shouldn't be there either. If you can't get rid of that entity or have your guides do it for you, there's no business in just proving that the house is haunted. That does help the client to prove that they're not crazy. But that doesn't really go to the point of saying, let's get this entity out of this house. I've heard many cases where ghost investigators go out, they say or claim that they have gotten rid of an entity. Only a few days later, that entity to reappear and do even more damage and havoc. So don't be fooled. Not every paranormal investigator is the same. But there are some out there with the latest tools and technology to be professional enough to handle this on a professional level. So the exterior forces that we're really looking at, we have the devices to use. We're not using a psychic medium or a part of the brain or a brain wave. We can actually harness the technology that we have today, that we've had for decades, putting it together in a small, capable way in order to put in your hand to investigate the true paranormal world. The whole idea is that it can be investigated, and everything can come together in one item. There is no doubt in my mind that in a few more years, this gadget will become even smaller and even more powerful. So today we're looking at entities 100 feet away or 150 feet away. Tomorrow we'll be able to see 200 or 250. We'll be able to see them down hallways and excluded locations. We'll see them in graveyards. We'll see them in your backyard. So technology is always on the move. This is technology that works. The other part of any paranormal investigation is you. The whole idea of what you're investigating and how you're investigating it. Again, the intent that you're investigating. Are you there to resolve a problem, just resolve an issue? Or are you there just to go for a thrill and wear a nice, cool black t-shirt? The true investigator is always there to resolve the problem. It may not happen right away. It may take months before you collect enough data in order for you to make an accurate and poignant decision. But never underestimate the value of technology that is available today and the value of a professional dowsinger or psychic who can get you in tune and in touch with this problem. Entities that create problems or poltergeists or anything else can flourish, and they can increase their power over time. The whole idea is that in these cases we have to ask for help. The human will and condition is just not capable of getting these entities away from these locations. It takes a divine engagement in order for these things to happen. You know, you have to call upon what we would say angels, an angelic force, to come in and remove this frustrated entity and have it go on. I've been in England, I've been in Europe, Rome, France, all around, and many people there who have tours of underground prisons or of Bastilles claim they don't want the entities to go on because that's what drives the tourist business. People always come and they get something on their cameras or on their tape recorders and they tell their friends and business proliferates. The problem being is that if that happens in your house, you wouldn't want tourists coming in all the time. You'd want it terminated as quickly as possible. Exterior forces sometimes are beyond our perception, and we have to work with that perception in mind to correct the intent of everything else. Remember, our intent can change our reality, and that is the primary factor on ghost investigations. Just being on the premise, just being in the premise or in relationship to the area that is haunted changes the electromagnetic signature of the place. And the entity is already aware that you're there. And they're already aware that you can do nothing to them. In some investigations, I've seen angels that are there standing guard over the investigator because the investigator is so blind and incompetent to the actual danger they're walking into. These angels are the lifeguards. They're the buffer between the consciousness that are creating the havoc and the investigator who's trying to find those consciousnesses. So remember, paranormal investigation has to deal a lot with intent, the desire to resolve the issues and the problems, to use the right equipment, to be non-biased, and to be as open-minded as possible. And if that is calling in a psychic or a dowser or another professional to assist you, that is exactly what you need to do. Take it from me. I've done this for a very long time. Always ask a professional if you ever get into a point or a problem that you cannot resolve. The client is your first priority, and the safety and security of that client is the mainstay. If you cannot help, tell the client, admit it right away, but then always ask for a referral to someone who might be able to help them. Technology will only take us so far, but the intent of what this can bring to us, bring to the table, is far greater than all of the other research on human consciousness combined. The theory of human consciousness still stands, but our science, our scientific equipment, tells us it's outside the body and it's floating around in the exterior forces that we call the spiritual reality. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Lynch. I want to thank you for watching. Remember, technology will bring evidence to the table. It's how we decide to use it, how we decide to decipher the data, which brings us closer, step by step, into this world, this great reality of exterior forces. Thank you for watching.